Welcome to Secrets from the Saddle podcast. I'm Sylvie Dow, your host, fellow cyclist, bike club founder, cycling coach, bike race junkie, just truly super passionate about cycling. My journey with cycling started 20 years ago when I opened a spin studio, started a women's race team, and founded a women's only cycling club called Cycle Fit Chicks. I'm super thrilled to reveal all aspects that make the world of cycling operate. I'm so excited to be able to bring you interesting people from around the world, pro cyclists, recreational cyclists, coaches, event organizers, bike shop owners, everything and everyone you need to know or ever wondered about when it comes to cycling. I know you'll enjoy this episode. Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling Podcast with your host, Sylvie, and you guys, I have got a story for you today. We are going to be talking to Benedikt Skúlason. He is the inventor of the LAUF gravel forks. So if you don't know what a LAUF gravel fork is, or a fork, go Google it. It's the craziest fork you've ever seen. I remember seeing it on my girlfriend's bike when she was racing against me. I was just like, what is that? And she told me it was a LAUF. I was like, oh, well, what's a LAUF? And I was like, oh my God, that is the coolest fork I've ever seen. So if you've ever ridden gravel or raced gravel, it takes away a lot of the impact of the bouncing on the front fork, the front of the bike. And she let me ride her bike for a little bit, and it felt so cool. But I was able to jump into one of their booths at Unbound and grab a contact and invited them to the podcast. And so here they are. We're going to be talking to Ben. They are originally from Iceland, and we're just going to get right into the story. And here he is. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling Podcast with your host, Sylvie Dow. And we have, like I was mentioning, Benedikt Skúlason he's originally from Iceland. So, and he is now living in Virginia, right?
Correct.
Yeah, Harrisonburg, Virginia. Actually, I know where that is. Yeah. And so we have Bene on here because, as I mentioned in my intro, he is the designer and creator of LAUF bikes. So here's a little bit background behind the thought, and then we're going to get right into the podcast episode. So aside from cycling and various other sports, he has been into inventing and designing and building things. He started out with Lego as a child. Anybody has got out Lego? But back like the old style Lego when you actually had to create stuff, creating robots. So started with Lego as a child, designed and made and competition robots in college. I don't know if you've ever seen those competition robots. I've watched a couple episodes though. Those things are really cool. Today, he's still doing the same thing, designing, inventing, and making stuff. So Bene founded LAUF in 2011. Around his invention of a leaf-sprung lightweight suspension fork. So, and in 2017 and 18, LAUF moved to a full bike from just forks to the true grit gravel race bike. I believe I saw some of those at Unbound. In 2022, he launched the next iteration of the gravel race bike, the LAUF Seigla.
Yeah.
And 2023 opened up in the U.S. With his factory in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I'm super excited to hear all about how this came about. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Glad to be on.
I'm super glad to have you here. So, Bene, the first thing I always ask is how did you get into cycling? And how did it lead you to really think about and design and build this? What brought you to creating that type of fork? So if anybody's watching this or have never seen a LAUF, take a moment and go Google what their forks look like. So, Bene, how'd you get into cycling and get into the designing of
Yeah,
this fork?
it's I mean it's yeah lots of it's a series of probably coincidences sort of. Uh, yeah, as things are generally are. But like as a kid, I loved riding a bike like most kids do. But I've always been like pretty like obsessed with like mechanics, like mechanical like systems and stuff. So which like led me to eventually like pursue a degree in engineering. And like as a teenager, I was like always out riding my mountain bike and yeah, did like a cross country race every now and then, and like me and my friends. Actually, the friend that I got to like start or found the LAUF with me, Guðberg Björnsson, Guðberg Björnsson, yeah, in Iceland, yeah. So we used to ride bikes together a lot and go like cross country racing a little bit. And like I said, I've always been like almost you could say almost like obsessed with like designing stuff. So like I'm pretty like restless. I like. I mean, we sometimes joke about this, me and my wife, that whenever we go to like a theater together or something. So I'm usually like sitting there. I miss the play sometimes because I'm like thinking how like the structure of the theater, how it works, and how it's all like So I'm pretty. So like from the moment I started to ride bikes, I was like pretty obsessed with like understanding how they worked and like tweak them and tune them and like exchange components and do all that tweak my bike. So yeah, then I went into engineering. As you mentioned earlier, I did a bunch of with Legos as a kid, so that sort of like developed into like doing all these like robots for like it's like you have this competition in Iceland where it's like a course, like an obstacle course, sort of like you move an egg from this place to that place or whatever, and you can't touch the robot. It just has to like go through the course and solve like the problem, sort of.
Oh,
So I was doing that like every year. So like I spent full 2 months just like sleepless almost, just like designing and building those robots. Uh, and yeah, just like super interested in all stuff like this and yeah, and cycling. So these obviously like came together in the like desire to make my own bike. And I was almost like as well pretty like obsessed with composites. So composites being carbon fiber, glass fiber, like
right.
fibers in resin.
Composites. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was just like fascinated with how they work. So as a teenager, probably it was probably 19 or 20, something like that. I was working as doing a summer job as a car journalist.
Oh, cool.
Riding up on like environmentally friendly cars back then. I mean, back then there were like almost no electric cars, so that was like one of the cool things maybe in the future. And one of the things I did on my job there was I visited Koenigsegg, which is a Swedish like a supercar brand, because their cars they're run on like or did back then on ethanol, so which is like was supposed to be more like environmentally friendly. But I visited them and there I saw like carbon fiber being used for the first time, and I was just like fascinated. It's amazing when if you haven't seen it. It's just like you cut it with scissors. Have you seen carbon fiber being used?
No,
Susie?
well, we've used it carbon fiber in repairing boats.
Okay, yeah, then you
Yeah.
know. I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah,
just like
it's
it's
like
just
paper.
fabric. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah. So it's super fascinating to see like back then they were making like the tubs of like the Koenigsegg sports cars, just like cutting with scissors out this fabric, like almost like cotton for jeans, almost cutting with scissors, and this would go on to become like a super strong and rigid like body of a like a hypercar.
Uh-huh.
And to me that was just fascinating, like all the possibilities like with this material. So I didn't like study this at school. I did industrial engineering. Actually, that's more like process control and stuff, optimizing stuff sort of. So I did that here in the US. But just like in my own free time, I kept reading books about like composites and what you can do with composites and like how to calculate different things with composites. So yeah, pretty obsessed with that back then, and eventually, I even I even like took the first steps in like setting up like a workshop in my like parents' like basement. So I was like getting like the basic tools to make like a carbon frame on my own. But then eventually I realized shit, this isn't going in anywhere. I mean, it's just like there are too many unknowns here. I can't just like start like a bike factory in my parents' like basement.
Uh-huh. They're
So
like, and I don't think I want you to either.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, they were supportive, amazingly supportive. Yeah. So yeah, they never use those words. Yeah, that they
Oh, I
yeah
know.
they
It's like,
yeah. Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. So basically this led me to like I lived in Iceland back then, and there is no bike business there. I mean, the bike industry didn't exist in
Exist.
Iceland. Yeah, so I mean there are no jobs to get at bike companies. So I look for like the next best thing sort of. So like there is a pretty cool company in Iceland. It's the size of SRAM, give or take. And in
Okay.
many ways, it's a similar company as SRAM, I would think. Like they're similarly like aggressive, like pushing new technologies and high end, like SRAM is and all that. But they do prosthetics. Uh,
Oh, okay.
so like mostly feet, but now they're like taking the first steps on doing like hands and arms and stuff. But it's more complicated. So mostly feet, and knees and ankles and stuff like that. And I got a job in their like R&D department within composites.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so
You must have been super like, yeah,
yeah,
oh my God. I
so
could
that
see
that
you.
was that was a lot of fun. And I could get like some proper like hands-on. I mean, and the plan was just to stay there because it's cool stuff they do. It's so like at one point I had like the sprint foot of Oscar Pistorius, like the famous and then infamous sprinter that went to the Olympics.
Okay, like with the sprint feet, like
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
the Blade Runner. Yeah, so I had like his feet on my desk, and I was working on like redesigning those to make them faster or whatever. So yeah, I was doing those things. So working on designing these carbon like leaf-spring feet,
Right.
which was
Oh,
cool. And
okay.
and like basically, I mean, my plan then was just to like continue working on that because that was cool and just race my bike in my free time. But like I just couldn't help myself sort of. So it was basically when I was working with all these flexing fibers
Yeah.
in my day job, I just like realized I had like a carbon fiber back then, like cross country mountain bike. I just like realized that nobody in cycling was using carbon or glass fiber for flexural performance. It was only being used for like light and stiff.
Right.
So I was thinking like, okay, I think there's an opportunity here. So basically this led me to like, and eventually like come up with a design of the leaf-spring suspension fork,
Mm-hmm.
which is like I mean, it's not tricky to make like a soft, like compliant fork. That's easy. But like the invention is to brace in that suspension sort of, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not like going all over the place.
Yeah.
To lock it. So it has like these parallel like offset springs. So upper step of springs, lower step of springs, and that like locks it in laterally. So yeah, so I came up with that invention, applied for a
Ah.
patent, and then got that in process. And around then, like I my mind was gone from my daytime job. I couldn't stay there anymore. I was just like I was completely obsessed with this.
I'm over here now.
Yeah, so I showed up to work and I did the things there, but I was just like I couldn't. Yeah, my head was gone. So yeah, I quit there. Like as soon as we got like a small grant, like I don't know, $40,000 or something,
Yeah.
give or take, to like got a grant to make some prototypes, like a government grant back in Iceland. Then I quit my job. And started this journey, and then like a few months later got this shelter friend of mine, Guðberg Björnsson, got him to join me, and formally like founding the company. And this was back in 2011, and here we are now, what, 12 years later almost.
So how did you, okay, so you put together the fork. So that's what you branded, like that's what you put out,
Yeah.
like you sold. So how did
Mhm.
that look like putting it together, testing it? Because I can see you know, like the leaves, and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. I can see like
Yeah,
that's where it came from. Okay.
yeah.
And so like just putting it together, like what made you decide to put it on a fork? Like on the front of the bike over like say like the back of the bike.
So
I guess
yeah,
it made more
yeah,
sense in the front.
yeah. So there are like there are other ways in the back, and in the back it's a so we have like LAUF has other stuff, like we have patents for like rear suspension stuff as well. So none of that stuff is like out yet, at least.
Ah.
Maybe sooner, yeah. But
Next
yeah,
year.
the patents can't be seen online at least. But I mean, yeah, everything is taking way longer in the
Mhm.
development of that stuff. Yeah, because of like COVID and yeah, lots of things. So that got like pushed out a few years. But yeah, in the back, it's such an easier task sort of, because in the back you have like the big bracing angle of like the seat stays coming from above and the chain stays from below.
Mhm.
So it's much easier to get like lateral stiffness in the rear. So in the rear you can actually use like the chain stay as one leaf spring sort of, and you can like supplement it with some spring up on the like seat stay as well. So
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, it's a different system that you can do in the back. So this
Mhm.
system wouldn't be the best solution in the back, basically. But in
Right.
the front, and this is also the reason you've seen so many different like suspension like methods in the rear. It's because it's relatively, compared to the front, easy. You have
Mhm.
so much space to work with. That's why people can do like all sorts of like linkages and stuff in the rear.
Yeah.
But in the front, I mean, the only I won't say probably the only like successful like solution we've seen ever is like a telescopic fork, and then yeah, probably our LAUF fork. So all other like linkage driven like systems like so far haven't like gotten anywhere. So it's a more difficult problem in the front than it is in the rear. So this one like worked in the front, so it was a better application of it.
So that makes it also easier if you just have a fork and you just could market the fork because anybody can just buy it
Yeah,
and swap it
yeah,
out. Mm.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, then it's just a component that all the brands could use. And we were like on that path for a few years, and like back in 2016, that's probably when we like had our like first sort of breakthrough. That's when we like developed our like initial like cross country suspension fork. We downsized that and developed it into a gravel fork.
Mm.
And our technology is like it's much more appropriate for gravel than what it is for mountain biking, because it's really good at vibration and small hits.
Yeah, like the what is it, the rivets, not the rivets, but the washboard stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's just like the occasional stones and potholes and like smaller
Hmm.
stuff. But when you get into like big hit mountain biking, then you want and need something that can like absorb hits and then dampen it on the rebound sort of. As
Hmm.
a completely different like problem sort of. So our fork is much more, our technology is much more appropriate for gravel. So in 16 we came out with a gravel fork, and that became a quite the hit in gravel. But basically, so yeah, at first the plan was just to be a fork company. I mean, yeah, we didn't like think it further than that.
Yeah.
The plan is always just to like wake up every day and try to make the best possible new plan based on where we are, basically. So that's
Hey, what
pretty
about a
much,
bike? Oh, no.
yeah. So eventually a bike made sense, because like doing our forks, you have to. I mean, so to be successful in like the components of supplying industry, sort of to be like a component supplier, you have to reach like a massive size, and you have to like reach sort of like the mainstream up to the high end, at least
Yeah.
from like mid-range to high end. You have to reach, you cannot exist like only in the top high end. It's just not enough volume.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not feasible. So that's why you see like, yeah, you see those like big players like dominating that market pretty much, because it's
Hmm.
like margins are low and you need to have like big volumes. So
Yeah.
eventually we were selling like forks to like this and that company, and like, yeah, lots of companies were buying our forks, but like not like the big ones, because I mean, of course they aren't gonna use such a polarizing component on their bikes. I
Right.
mean, they have like so much to lose and not much to gain, sort of. They have a market dominating position already. Let's say, I mean, let's use, say, track, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, why would they choose like a weird component on their bikes from like a startup company somewhere in Iceland? I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
So
imagine it did though.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
in that
we're
aspect,
set.
yeah, yeah. So we thought it was like possible back then, and thankfully, because otherwise he wouldn't have like continued on this journey. But then we just like eventually realized that just like yeah, the economics of it don't work out. Sort of, it's not worth the risk for those big companies. And we were like, hey, okay, people are, so it's such a defining component when you put it on like a Scott bike or an Orbea bike or whatever gravel bike, basis on open or whatever, it becomes almost a LAUF bike. We're like, hey, why don't we
Uh,
make the
oh.
bike? I mean,
Yeah, because everybody's looking at that, not the rest of the bike, basically.
exactly, exactly. So,
Like, I
so,
can see
so it
that.
just, yeah, and like we were in a pretty good position because we had like, by then we had like mastered all like the manufacturing techniques, and yeah,
The
all the
distribution.
possibilities sort of,
Yeah.
and just like figured out, yeah, supply chains and basically, yeah, and have been writing like all the different gravel brands because like we were like writing all brands using our forks just to make sure
Mm-hmm.
like that the fork is like
Oh.
compatible and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So we had like studied the entire like spectrum of the market basically. I've been writing them all, so we knew
Right.
what we liked and what we didn't like and what we would want to change. So like we're,
Cool.
yeah, in a pretty good position to like come out with a gravel bike, which then yeah became our true grit.
So, which brand did you like the best with your fork? Is your which was the
Yeah.
winner out of all of them? I want to know.
Should I say this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, was it Cannondale,
Yeah.
Salsa, Trek,
No, it's like
Norco?
so it's pretty, it's probably, I mean, you could I mean you could just by like looking up, yeah, I'll tell you what brands, but I mean but look,
I'm sure
but
they would
by
be
looking up
like
like
honored to say that
yeah, so the
you
brands
chose their
were doing like cool gravel bikes at that time, so
Yeah.
like the pioneers sort of gravel, so yeah, we like to think of ourselves like in that group, but we yeah didn't come with the first bikes. So there were
Right.
bikes like the Open Up. It's a cool bike.
Open up?
Yeah, Open UP, Open Unbeaten Path.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
so
Yeah.
Gerald Ruman from Cervelo and yeah, Antti Kessler. So
Oh,
that's a cool bike. So it's like it's the first like really high end, really lightweight gravel like race oriented bike that I can remember.
okay.
Uh, and so that has some cool like features. I mean we didn't like all of them, but yeah, a lot of them we liked. Niner, they had some cool bikes back then. So they had like the Niner RLT, like a steel RLT steel gravel bike. That was pretty cool back then. Salsa was early in the gravel
Mm-hmm.
game. What else did we have? Yeah,
Not
it's
a
a cool.
whole lot to pick from though, back then.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't big. I mean, this was before, if I remember correctly, this was probably before the checkpoint. Or if there was a checkpoint, it was like a niche bike. Then I can't.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I think they didn't even have it. So gravel was just like starting back then, and like
Uh-huh.
probably like salsa was there, yeah, and Surly, but then like gravel
Was
was more like
surly.
a workhorse kind of a bike. It wasn't viewed as like a high-end racing bike yet, sort of.
Uh-huh. Or
But that
the
was like
events
happening.
weren't there as well.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, that grew like came like with the events. So with the growth of Unbound and
Mm-hmm.
all like everything that followed, sort of came like the super high-end gravel bikes along with it, sort of. So
Right. Yeah, I
yeah,
can see that. Cause like, yeah, because I think that's what a 6-year-old, no, how long has that been? 10 years?
since
That one? Since Unbound? Well, it was Dirty Kanza before.
yeah,
It's fairly young compared
yeah,
to like say
yeah,
Barry Roubaix
it
that's been
is, yeah,
around for a long
yeah,
like a long, long time.
yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and then it just like exploded from there. So this was 2016, I want to say, yeah, that we came out with the gravel fork, and then it was just like exploding. Then it was like the next big thing that was like, yeah, sort of had already somewhat started. So, but I mean, now it's just like, yeah, it's a big thing already. But back then it was like super exciting when everyone was like contemplating like coming out with a gravel bike, and then eventually everybody did. And yeah, so yeah, it's a fun time. And we had like the right technology at the right time in the right place, sort of. So I mean, we like stood there in the middle of a field, sort of, with this like leaf-sprung suspension fork.
You're like, hey,
what about this? That's new. Yeah,
hey,
new
front
kind of.
suspension.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh,
what about,
really?
hey, yeah, telescopic too heavy. Yeah, too much maintenance. Okay, what about this? Like, so that was like sort of like the sweet spot, because we, like, before that we had been like basically downsizing cross-country bikes, which isn't, I mean, it's like, how many people like buy a pickup truck and then lower it? It's not, I mean, so I
Yeah.
mean, we were taking like cross-country bikes and like turning them into gravel bikes. So by taking off the telescopic fork and putting on our fork, it became like a super lightweight gravel bike. But that
Oh.
wasn't, yeah, as big of a market, and it wasn't as exciting as actually taking like sort of road bikes and turning them into off-road machines.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I
So
think
yeah,
that time I can, I think I was just finishing. No, I think that was a big question. A lot of people are like, were talking about size of tires, and then it went
yeah,
down to the size of your fork. Will they fit in there? No,
yeah,
you have to. So getting another bike, and then there
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
like the thought of, having multiple wheel sets and things like that. And do I
And I think
want
people are
that? Is
still riding tires that are too narrow, like in general. I think
Well, if you
it,
got your real roadies, yeah, they
yeah,
are.
it's just like it's something like it feels wrong to people to put like a wide tire. It looks slow and it feels slow,
Yeah.
but it is fast. So yeah, we'll like overcome this eventually. I mean, it's just like we've gone through this with mountain bikes, like tires. I mean, yeah, first obviously the 26ers and 29ers, and then yeah, people were 1.9s and 2-inch wide tires, and then like they supersized that up to 2.25 or something. But
Yeah.
now they just realized, yeah, like wider is faster in general.
Yeah.
So
And then it's like tubeless. And
yeah,
that whole evolution of a tubeless tire, I'm like, no thanks. Way back then, I'm like,
yeah,
gluing
yeah,
it to your
exactly.
rim, forget
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. It took me a while as well. Yeah,
Yeah, now it's super easy. Like
yeah,
anybody can do it.
yeah,
If I
yeah,
can, if anybody can do it.
yeah.
So tell us about, so when did you bring out the bike? You said you brought out the bike in 2017 and 18. So that's when you
Yeah,
brought your full on bike to the masses. And how was it received? Like going
yeah.
from the frake to the bike?
So amazingly so. It could not have gone better. So again, we had like the right bike at the right time.
Yeah, right
Sort of,
before COVID. Oh, it's like a
yeah,
year
and like
before.
it was like it was the first gravel bike that sort of, so we did new things with like gravel geometry. Uh, and this, yeah, we got a lot of praise for that, like in the media. So we were like the first gravel bike, I want to say. I mean, I don't know, yeah, to my knowledge, at least no mainstream brands were doing this before us. So like combining like a fast fit of the rider, so like your road bike fit basically could get into your road position,
Uh-huh.
but combining that with stability. So that was like the new thing we did with our bike. So it's short in the back, so you want to like feel like the instant power delivery. So when you pedal, you want to like make it respond like swiftly, just so it's fun basically. But you want it stable in the front. So at that time, all the gravel bikes were just supersized road bikes, sort of. So they still
Mm,
had the steep steering angles
yeah.
of road bikes. Or there was another school of gravel bikes that were just like, yeah, sort of like your old man's bikes, sort of like
Or
tall,
cyclocross.
flat. Yeah, and so we were like the first bike that combined stability with a fast fit, and it's just super fun. If you haven't ridden like a bike like that, it's just fun. You just go fast on gravel, you can like get into the drops and just like, yeah, gun down fast descents, and it's just, yeah, a whole lot of fun. So it was amazingly well received. The True Grit got like, yeah, brilliant reviews everywhere. So so we were really happy about that, but even that wasn't enough. Sort of, it's hard to start a bike company.
I
I don't know
bet.
if I would do it again. But I mean, it's amazing, like where we've come. I'm so grateful for that. But it has not been easy.
Yeah, I
So I mean,
bet.
we had this bike that everybody loved and was like getting the best reviews, probably just like out of all gravel bikes in the market, just like best reviews in the world. But still, it was really hard to just like push it out and in any like proper quantities. It's just
Oh,
like it's so hard to like there's so much inertia in everything, in the system. So you have all the bike companies that have like their dealers and all that, and it's just you can't break through that easily. So
mm.
we got like several like great dealers, and got bikes flowing through them, but it just was never enough. So the volume was never enough to sustain the
The
company.
interest, you mean? Like, was there too much demand, or you were?
No. Just like you could never get like enough dealers on board. I mean,
Oh, okay.
and I mean we had only this one bike, so to
Mm-hmm.
sell like enough to keep our company afloat, we had to have like a lot of dealers, because like
Right.
every dealer is always going to sell like a handful of bikes or whatever per year, because it's like a high-end gravel bike.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not like your like $800 like hybrid bike that they just like roll out through the door. So you're not selling them in hundreds like per dealer, so you need like lots
Right.
of dealers. So it was great. Like it got our brand on the map sort of, and got some like spread of our bikes. But it was just like, we needed to grow the company like beyond that. So back in 2020, we took the bold move of just like just like looking for the right word, dumping all our dealers, basically.
Oh, really?
So and then we just like went direct to consumer only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was in 2020. So
I think that's just like that's kind of following the Cannondale model. I think that's
uh,
what they do, right? They
Canyon,
just do it Cannondale or Canyon. Sorry, not
yeah, yeah,
Cannondale. Canyon.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Canyon, they're all online.
direct to
But
consumer.
and I think they've always been online. That's part of
Yeah.
their niche thing.
They were born out of like a mail ordering catalog.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that then like developed into a bike company. So so we went direct to consumer only, and we've been like growing, as a direct to consumer brand like ever since.
And that's the way to do it, like for you. That
For us,
was that
I
was
mean,
definitely a positive
absolutely. I
change.
mean, it's so I'm not a big fan of like simple answers. So I mean, like it's not like direct to consumer is like not the way, but like for us, it's the way.
Yeah.
So for us, it works great. It's just like I think it suits our bikes well, because like our bikes are like they're sought after, sort of. They stick out from the crowd. So it's probably relatively easy for us. It's not easy, but relatively probably to like get the following that we need to
Mm-hmm.
function as a direct to consumer company without having like the dealers pushing the brand.
Right. And I would imagine that it's easier to fulfill, like the fulfillment part of the order that comes in. What's your turnaround? Like if somebody orders something and
It's
it's
it's like we
must be better
try to
now than it was before.
so we
It was
try to
like
have
two
like most
years.
exactly. And we try to have on stock. So like I mean, it's either going to be that we have it like built up in the shelf, and some bikes are like that. Then we just like get it out like the next day.
Hmm.
Then it's like in
Wow.
your hands, or under your feet, like 2 days later or something. If you're in North America, that is, like a few days later if you're in Europe or somewhere else. But if we haven't built it already, then we just like go ahead and build it right away. So it's like from like next day up to like 9 business days or something, if there's a long assembly queue.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So we want to be fast.
I
That's
guess so. You can get a next day bike. Oh my
Yeah,
God, that's
yeah,
unheard of. Well, I guess it's different now, but back 2 years ago, that was unheard of. So, do
yeah,
you find that your sales are pretty consistent and throughout the year?
yeah. So I mean, okay, COVID has been a weird time.
I know for everybody.
Yeah, it's been like Mrs. It has been super weird, but like thankfully, I mean, so you keep hearing about all these brands are like contracting like 40% between years or whatever. So, but we haven't been doing that. We've been growing like steadily. Like, I mean, we planned on growing even more. I mean, because like we were growing like 100% every year, sort of like a few years back.
Hmm.
Yeah, then yeah, usually like yeah, somewhere between like 60 and 100% every year. But
Wow,
now
that's
I
awesome.
would probably like 30% or something. So it's yeah, but it's still yeah, still growing pretty fast.
So you still sell the forks?
Yeah, yeah. So but only so not to we haven't been selling them like as a like component supplier to other brands. We
No,
sell
but
them.
like if somebody want to replace their fork, they could. I'm just
Yes.
thinking of a friend of mine, and we were just
Yeah.
talking today. She has a lot of pain issues in her wrist. And so I
Yeah.
was like, maybe one of your forks would be ideal for her to replace on her bike so she's got more cushion
Yeah.
so she
Yeah.
doesn't ride with pain. Right? I'm
Yeah.
like, nobody wants to ride their bike with pain. I'm even thinking about mine
No.
because I'm starting to get, but yeah, so that's why I asked if you still sell the forks as like a,
Yeah, but just yeah, just on our website. Just yeah. So yeah, and they keep yeah, we keep selling forks. Yeah, but it's mostly about bikes now. But I mean, yeah, we sell forks as well.
can you get different colors?
Not to the forks, just to the bikes.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
So now you're working with two bikes and your forks, and that's and
Yeah. So yeah, almost just like one. So it's just yeah, Seigla, but Seigla both as a suspended and then as a rigid fork, were like spec as well. So just like a simpler, yeah, for
mhm.
those that want their gravel bikes even simpler and lighter, basically. So yeah, those two and forks, and then I mean then like
That makes it so simple, right?
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's a simple. And we want to stay that way. So we want to
yeah,
like it's all about simplicity. So we yeah, and yeah, many forms of simplicity. We want like the bikes we do make, we want them to be like as simple as possible. We want like simple solutions. We don't want like any like gimmicks or stuff that breaks and isn't like serving any like useful purpose sort of.
hmm,
So we want yeah simple bikes, but like efficient, like fast. So we're not like cutting
yeah,
corners, but we yeah we don't want to add any like stuff to them that doesn't make sense.
hmm,
So and then we also want to have a simple lineup. So currently that
right,
means basically just this one bike, and then
hmm,
yeah a few different like builds. But
or
then
different
yeah
sizes.
yeah and sizes and the colors and all that. But yes, but still like yeah as simple as we can. And then we are like looking in both directions. We're looking. I mean, gravel is pretty like smack on the middle of like of want to say like if you take your like average like endurance cyclist or like an like cyclist athlete sort of.
Hmm.
It's all about like road, gravel, and cross country, like sort of those three. So we are like smack in the middle there with gravel. So we're like looking in both directions. We're like contemplating road and contemplating like cross country as well. So,
Hmm.
but for now it's all about gravel.
It is all about gravel,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, which is fun.
That's what
Yeah, yeah.
it just is.
Mm.
So does your bike fit women? Do you go down as small as double XL, like for tiny frames?
Double XS. No, we only do like yeah, extra small, not double extra small. So it's but yeah, which fits like women down to yeah in centimeters. Like what's it one
Is that
just
like
below
5 feet?
160.
I don't know what
I
double
don't have my
X or
conversions.
2X.
So yeah, so
Five
somewhere like just
four, maybe 5'4", 5 to 5'4".
below 160. Yeah, you can see it on our webpage. But like yeah, most it can fit most.
Okay.
So we go like basically as far down as we can while still using like 700C, like a 29er sort of
Oh,
like
okay. Right.
yeah.
Wheelbase.
So yeah, so we don't do like the smaller 650B wheels.
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
you sort of have to go for those if you want to do like an extra small.
Yeah.
But we do an extra small.
Okay.
But then aside from that, I mean, I personally think that like women's bikes, like Live versus Giant,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing in it. It's just colors and saddles basically.
Don't, ladies, don't just ignore what he said.
No,
They are really.
listen to what I said. No, no, it's often it's just marketing. They're just like it's often whenever you see like a bike that is like women's like geometry or
Specific.
whatever, there's nothing different in that geometry. It's just the same bike, just different colors, different saddle. And sometimes they change up the handlebar or whatever. Just
The handlebars,
because.
yeah, are big.
Yeah, sometimes there's no reason, like for a given size, for a given bike size, there's no reason a woman should have a different handlebar size than a man, in my opinion. So for a given size, yeah. So
Really?
yeah, absolutely.
Well, I can say that handlebars have evolved from the first time that I rode to
Yeah,
being very big and a really big stretch or reach for your brakes. Now everything's
yeah, more
very small and
compact. Yeah,
compact.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing. So I was mostly thinking like the width.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, no, I don't know about the width, but
But
like
like hand size, of course,
yeah,
you want to have like the
the
drops like
reach.
compact enough reach, for your
Hmm.
hands. But then
That's
again, that's mostly probably about the levers, like the brake levers
hmm.
themselves. And like bike manufacturers can't really do much there. That's just like we just use whatever like SRAM or Shimano make sort of.
Yeah.
So and they make it to they try to make it fit all sizes. Obviously there are like compromises within that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how that is.
Oh, we're so like I would say we're so uh I don't know, tricked, I guess, in thinking that it's all it's all very specific for us, but really it's
Yeah.
not. Thanks, Benny.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not gonna say like saddles. Yes, I
Oh
mean
no,
they
saddles
are.
are different.
Yeah,
Yes, we got different
yeah.
stuff. So tell us, so let's share a little bit about the future. You said that there was something coming down the pipe for next year.
Yeah, I mean,
What's
there's
that?
always something. Yeah, there's always
Well, there
something.
has to
So
be, right?
yeah. That's the one thing you can count on it. There's always something coming up. So I mean, I can't unfortunately like disclose what exactly.
I thought you said you could. That's not fair. Okay, just
But
a little
yeah,
snippet, just a little
yeah.
something for us to think to you look forward to.
Yes. I mean, so in general, I mean, when you think of it, I mean, yeah, we are there, we're making gravel bikes, and it's pretty logical for us to look towards road bikes and look towards cross country. But I mean, what that means, like when or if we make either of those bikes, we'll have to see. Time will tell.
Oh, that's not fair, eh? Okay, to our listeners, that's
Stay
not
tuned.
fair. To know, put a message in on our YouTube channel underneath this video and say we want to know. I want to know what's going on. So when are you planning on announcing? Is this like a January thing or like a November for the next year? Like what's the marketing strategy behind this so we can all
So
like
it's
get
for us,
ready, put it on our calendar?
so we're pretty like I won't say like disorganized, but not that's probably not really the word. But I mean, we're driven by the product, sort of. So
Yeah.
we develop the product until it's ready, and then we launch
Hmm.
it.
You're
So
testing. Are you in the testing
yeah,
phase?
we are testing stuff. Yes,
Okay, so that's good.
yeah,
They're testing
yeah,
their product before they
yeah,
bring it out. It's
yeah.
good to
But
know
not
you're
so in
testing.
gravel. I mean, in gravel we are good for
Yeah.
a long while, I think. So the
Hmm.
Seigla, I mean, we launched the Seigla last year, so that's really fresh still. So
Hmm.
nothing happening there for a while.
Oh, so it's like the other
Yeah.
cycling e-bikes.
So I don't know what I think about the
You're
uh
waiting on the e-bike thing. Are you waiting on the?
yeah, I mean, so okay,
It's
put
pretty
it like this.
saturated.
I get it for mountain bikes. I totally get it. So I mean,
Oh
if there
yeah,
had
that's
been, yeah, if there had been like mountain bikes when I was a teenager, I would have been like all over it. I mean, it would have just like been so much fun, just like more trips up the mountain and down again.
yeah.
So that would have been awesome. So for mountain bikes, I totally get it. But I still don't get it for gravel. Why? I mean,
Oh, for
yeah,
gravel? I wasn't thinking
yeah,
about gravel. I'm just thinking like more the commuter. Like,
yeah,
do you want to
yeah. I
put
mean,
another brand, like another bike out there? It
no.
seems to
So
me
I
like
mean,
there's a lot already.
yeah. I mean that. I mean, I really I love like I mean like commuting bikes. It's awesome, but it's not us. I mean, LAUF
Yeah,
is
yeah,
not
yeah.
your
Hmm.
commuter brand unless you want to commute to work on a high-end gravel bike, which is awesome. Yeah, which a lot of people do actually. It's actually when you think of it, that's probably like one of the bigger reason like gravel bikes are actually this popular. It's because they're not just fun to like race and play on, but they're also like
Hmm.
practical for everyday stuff.
Yeah.
That which makes them like great commuters. But like gravel, I still don't get that. And road, I don't get that either. I mean, of course, there are like niches there. If you want to like when you're getting older, you want to keep up with your like kids or
Partner.
something, whatever, or younger partner or friends or whatever. I mean, it makes sense maybe to do that, but it's such a niche, sort of, at least to me. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
it
see.
doesn't seem like there's like it doesn't seem as fun, I would say, for you.
No, it's
Another
nothing I
thing.
could. It's nothing I get excited about, at least. So,
And we see where all the innovation comes from being excited. So
yeah,
really, really thank you so much for sharing everything. Like I still find that super fascinating the way you picked it out of that prosthetic leg. Like I could totally see it. And
yeah,
I'm just like almost like put the two side by side and
yeah,
see like compare the tech, like just the idea of like that spring and yeah, I would never have guessed that would have where it was coming from, but
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's super fascinating. Um and prosthetics are just moving along as well.
yeah.
So,
It's
but
such a realization just to see, I mean, how much
mhm,
they flex and that they can do it like millions of times without any fatigue. So
yeah.
that was just like, wow, okay, shit, people are, yeah, you should
Shit,
be
we need
making
to put
like
that
bike stuff.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Somewhere
yeah,
else.
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So I hope all of our listeners have enjoyed our conversation with Benny from Lauf. And if you haven't checked out their bikes, this is the time to go. Where can they find you and all your socials?
Yeah, just yeah, online, Lauf Cycling or Lauf
Lauf Cycling.
Cycles, actually laufcycles.com. Yeah, or Lauf Cycling, yeah, whichever works. Yeah.
Is that
And then yeah, of course,
Instagram, Twitter? Do you
yeah,
have
we're
anything
Instagram
on?
and Facebook, yeah, all that.
Do you
Just
have anything
Lauf.
on YouTube?
No, not a lot. Yeah,
No.
some maybe yeah, some tech talks and stuff, but yeah, not a lot. Just yeah, some old stuff.
Oh.
We're not really active there.
You need to, if you ever are
Yeah,
creating a video on the creation of that, I think that would be super fascinating. I mean, it doesn't
yeah.
have to be
There
very
are
long.
some. Yeah, you can go and
Yeah.
yeah
I'll
check.
have to
There
go. Okay,
might be
I'll
some
go
old
check.
ones. Yeah.
We'll go check.
You
But
might see a
we
younger
are,
me. You might see a
yeah.
younger me explaining yeah something.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, we are on YouTube, so make sure you check out the podcast at Secrets from the Saddle podcast on YouTube, social, and Instagram. Thank you so much, Benny, for chatting,
My
and
pleasure.
we'll see everybody else on the next podcast. Thanks a lot, and have a great day. And hopefully, I'll meet you at the next Unbound. Are you going to be there
Yeah.
this next
Hopefully.
year?
Hopefully. Yeah, I hope so.
I will be back. I have to finish
Okay.
Excel.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. You came close.
I did come close.
Yeah.
Ridiculously close. I should have
Yeah.
just kept on
Yeah. Well
going,
done.
is what I
Well
should have
done.
done. Thanks.
Yeah.
I need one of your bikes.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Well, thanks a lot, everybody, and take care. Bye. All right. Now, was that not cool? I love learning about innovative inventions like that. Did you ever think that that Lauf front suspension came from him working with not amputees, but prosthetics, and the running prosthetic that would bring him to create that that fork. I think that's super fascinating. I don't know about you, but I'd love to hear your comments on our YouTube page, or on your favorite podcast. You can put out questions or comments about the podcast episode. Love to hear from you guys, and love to hear what you thought about this episode. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys. Have an amazing day. Thank you so much for spending this time with me on the Secrets from the Saddle podcast, learning more about sighting people, places, and things that make cycling such an exciting sport. I am so glad you stopped by today. Please leave me a review if you feel so moved to do so. I would love to hear your feedback. And if you could take 1 second to share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it, I would be forever grateful. Also, if you could please leave me a review if you feel so moved by going to iTunes and leaving me an honest thought and an honest comment, telling me what you think, and most importantly, tell me what you'd like to hear more of. It would really help me to bring more great, inspiring cycling stories to you. Until then, have an amazing day, make sure you ride your bike, and don't forget to visit my YouTube channel if you'd like to see the full version of this podcast live.